for IT Central Station's webinar about intent data. I'm Daniela Alfer, and I oversee marketing at IT Central Station. IT Central Station has worked with Bombora and SAP for several years, so we're pleased to have our panelists, Paul Logue from SAP and Millie Resnick from Bombora, and our moderator is Russell Rothstein, IT Central Station's CEO and founder. Some short background information about our panelists. Paul Logue is a Senior Vice President and Global Head of Insights at SAP, where he's transformed SAP's Market Intelligence Group into a strategic analytics-powered insights function. The centerpiece of Paul's transformation is the development and launch of SAP's Crystal Ball digital account intelligence platform, which is amazing, and we really want to hear more from Paul about it today. Prior to SAP, Paul was Vice President and Global Head of Insights and Growth Analytics for Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, HPE. Millie Resnick is Bombora's Vice President of Product Marketing, where she markets to marketers. She has over 15 years of experience in product marketing leadership roles at fast-growing disruptive companies, helping define their go-to-market strategy. And Russell Rothstein began his career at Oracle and subsequently worked at startups that have been acquired by SAP, CA Technologies, and Dell EMC. He's the founder and CEO of IT Central Station, which we all know is the leading review site for B2B enterprise technology products. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to you, Russell. I'll be on the chat, so please reach out to me with any questions or comments because we'll be coming back with a short Q&A session at the end. Russell, it's all yours.
Good. Thank you, Daniela. It's really great to be here. I'm really excited about the panel today. We've got two really great, knowledgeable speakers. Paul at SAP has built what seems to me the most impressive intent data engine of anyone in the enterprise tech space. So I'm looking forward to learning more and talking more about what he's built. And Millie at Bombora is a company that's been at the forefront of intent data from the early days and has tremendous amount of experience. So it's going to be a really exciting conversation today. I'm really excited. So let's get started. I want to kick it off with a question, which is, what is the most pressing problem that companies have when using intent data, right? Let's cut through the hype here, because intent data, there's a lot of hype about it. It shows up in my LinkedIn feed, people talking about it. There's lots of information about it, but what exactly is the problem that intent data is there to solve? Paul, can you start off?
Yeah, so hello, Russell and Millie, great to talk to you again. So excited about this conversation. So I would say for us, we're doing a lot with intent data and digital intelligence in SAP, a lot of lessons learned, and I'm happy to share those in the call today. For us, the intent data piece of it is all about customer listening and customer experience, and that's where it all starts. So the whole reason, if you have to step back, the reason why we're even embarking on this exercise and looking at data and listening to data and using it to improve sales and marketing is to improve fundamentally the customer experience. That's the grand unifying theorem of why we're doing this. If we can better understand our customers' needs, if we can better predict our customers' needs, and guess what? There's more and more expectation from our customers that we're doing just that. They want us to give them the right information at the right time, right place, so they say. And every single company is now thinking about how do I improve customer experience? And to do that, you have to be listening. The core underneath customer experience has to do with the DNA in your company and how you are fundamentally listening to your customers. And you have to listen to your customers a variety of ways, not just one way, but a variety of ways. And part of that, and a key part of that, is digital listening. I think of intent data as digital listening. And I think of it also, just another term I use is digital empathy, which underscores the fact that we're listening to be helpful to what the customer needs.
Great.
Okay, great. Millie, what are the use cases that you're seeing, the problems that the customers are solving with intent data?
Yeah, and thanks again for having me. Really excited to be here. So just to kind of echo some of the things that Paul mentioned, usually when customers come to us interested in intent data, they're really typically starting out with an account-based approach. They're really interested in moving into an account-based approach from their traditional methods. And some of the reasons why that is because the way that business buying has really evolved, where there's buying groups. Most people are researching products digitally before they ever speak to a salesperson, and so they're really looking into how they can be more buyer-led in terms of their account-based marketing, where they really need to be listening to what customers are interested, their prospects are interested in hearing, because that's actually how you are most effective with your account-based marketing. So some of the use cases that they come to us with, typically they start with more top of funnel types of use cases. They're interested in being more targeted with their digital advertising. They're looking into creating content that's relevant to what customers and prospects are interested in, and then they kind of move into some lower funnel use cases like account prioritization and helping their sales teams refine their talk tracks and prioritize the accounts that they're focused on. And then they evolve into a lot more sophisticated use cases that I'm sure Paul has implemented at SAP in terms of like getting data lakes and just applying it across their entire sales and marketing ecosystem.
So you talked about ABM as tends to be the number one reason, and making those ABM programs successful by giving them the data and, or in Paul's words, the empathy, the digital empathy, the digital listening on an account by account basis. Paul, besides ABM, sort of account-based, sort of very specific sort of sales marketing use cases, what are the other use cases? Because I know you have a very wide view of intent data. So what are you seeing out there, in addition to ABM?
Yeah. So I would just underscore to Millie's point, we started the exact same way, the same place, very small. And I think a kind of an obvious starting point for companies that are just embarking on this is top of funnel prospecting. In almost every sales and marketing organization, you can find a lot of inefficiency, right? With how they look for prospects and how they listen to customers and where their next best customer is. There's a lot of guessing, right? And a lot of processes not armed with data. So that's an excellent place to start. And the good part about starting with that, with the classic ABM kind of prospecting use case, is it's very measurable. And right off the bat, you can kind of see the difference before and after. How much better does sales and marketing perform through a campaign or a sales play with this improved data? So that is I would underscore that as a great starting point. But there's then these other doors that start to open up. And once you start to gather more intelligence and learn more about your customers, listen to your customers in different ways, bring that together in what people refer to as a customer data platform or C360, and start to just really get this data, then doors open up. Then you have the ability to start to look at a myriad of different use cases. We've talked about sales, marketing, events. We're all doing digital events. We're on a digital event. And guess what we have to do before a digital event? We have to find people that are interested in this topic. Data can greatly improve the matching between who goes to an event and who wants to hear that topic. Events is a great activity. How about post-sales? One of the other things that every company is interested in right now is helping existing customers and making sure that they're happy, they're satisfied, high NPS, and they're ready to renew. Again, this data is really fantastic for customer success organizations that want to just build and keep and retain their accounts. And then I'll just mention a third. I don't actually sit within sales and marketing, which is an interesting part of my role. We are designed as a strategic function under the office of CEO, and my job actually is to drive data-driven processes across the entire company. So what a perfect position, right? I'm looking at what other doors can I open. Think about strategy, company strategy. How much of a company strategy is built on data? Again, this data that we talk about account specific, but this data can also be looked at in aggregate to determine where your market's going and what are the key themes across your entire customer base. So there's just a couple of examples, but this is really profound. Is the data that IT Central Station has, and peer reviews and Bombora and other third-party data sources, I strongly believe can be harnessed to so they can transform a company into a data-driven company. Think of it that way. Any place in your company where there's guessing or there's inefficiency, where data, I think, can help target that process. These are the opportunities that I think intent data eventually, over time, can start to contribute to.
Right. Right.
There's actually, I wanted to make a mention that a recent use case that I heard from a customer that I hadn't heard of before was like really using the data for annual planning. So a lot of companies start with, oh, how many sales, how many deals am I going to win this year? But then they can actually use data to figure out, are there that many companies interested in what I'm actually selling? Am I really going to hit those goals based on what's really out there and what customers are interested in? And they can actually apply intent data to just understand their entire business and whether or not they're actually going to hit those goals.
Yeah.
Right. So we've whetted everyone's appetite, right? I mean, I think that eyes are wide open about the potential for intent data becoming a digital, empathetic, digital listening organization and leveraging this data-driven planning organization. Then is the hard work, okay? Mm-hmm. So, and again, in my experience, because we're talking now to a lot of companies about intent data. There's a lot of interest with IT Central Station being a review site. It attracts people, visitors who have high intent because they're reading reviews and doing comparisons. And we offer an intent data offering of people reading those reviews. So the eyes get wide open. And then the next part of the conversation is, but it's really hard. And I don't know what I'm getting into. And so share with us, I think the audience would really benefit from some of the struggles, because we're like the early days here of intent data, even though, again, Bombora has been in this for a while. And Paul, you've built something very mature, but we're really in the early days of building, using, leveraging intent data in not just marketing and sales, but overall corporate strategy. But what are the struggles that you're seeing? And then maybe some advice to avoid it or get through it.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. This is a great point. I don't want to bum everybody out, but this is maybe, at least from SAP's perspective, this may be the toughest job I've ever done. The hurdles were many. The struggles were many. You can get through them. I put the challenges and the struggles into two fundamental buckets. There's a whole set of technical challenges you have to work through. There's a set of change management challenges, and I'm going to tip the scale on this one. I'm going to say that the change management challenges were harder than the technical challenges. So let me give you a sense of the technical quickly, and then change management. On the technical side, first of all, you have to find the right data. You have to figure out where is the most meaningful place that you can listen to customers. And for our strategy, we had to actually put ourselves in the customer's shoes and basically follow the customer and what they thought was important. Where are they going to learn? Where are they going to hear reviews with other customers? What do they find helpful? That's your true north. So that's a step number one, is you can't just assume, data is data. You have to have a true north of the customer to find the right data. Second thing you have to do is figure out how you bring that data in to a semblance of a data construct, a data warehouse, where you can then deploy that into your multiple systems and processes. Think CRM, think finance, and so forth. So that there's a core data challenge. But I saved the best for last, the change management, and this is where it all matters. What are you going to do after all that? You're going to enable sales and marketing. You're going to enable people. I have to enable thousands of people. Some are familiar with this area, some are not. They have to understand what it is. They have to be convinced that it matters. They have to be convinced that this is representative of their customers. And then most importantly, they have to know what to do about it. What's the next best action, as they say. So this involves an amazing amount of communication, tools, simplification, and enablement, which, we can talk about any and all of those. But both sides of those have to be paid attention to. I've seen organizations that focus on the technical but fall on the change management, and I've seen folks that tackle the change management but go way too simple on the technical, and both are kind of like pitfalls.
Right. Okay. And Millie, what is Bombora doing to help customers with that struggle, right?
Yeah.
The struggles that Paul's referring to, both on the technical side and the change management side. Is it integrations with systems? Is it a lot of customer success? Is it what are the other things that Bombora does to enable success in a intent data deployment?
Yeah, so kind of like what Paul said, like our most successful customers are the ones that are able to get it into a system of record like Salesforce or directly into their workflows. And so we do take a lot of time and put a lot of effort into integrating into different platforms so the data can be ubiquitous in all of the places that the sales and marketing teams are already using. But the challenge, is definitely in terms of when they're starting to think about intent data, it's really a process change and a mindset change. And that's really where the change management comes from. Like, I mean, at every organization I've worked at, getting the salespeople to use their Salesforce is a challenge. And so while the data can be in Salesforce, like getting people revved up and excited about using data in their day-to-day sales prioritization can be challenging. And so I often find that the customers that are most successful in doing that, they start small. They start with one SDR, one AE, and really help enable them to be successful. And we have, a pretty big customer success team that really also helps them do those kinds of things and helps them champion it at their companies. But really, they typically start small. And then when they start seeing anecdotal success, they're able to, expand these programs and bring it into more salespeople, more different marketing teams if they have several marketing teams. And then it kind of grows from there. And that's what we typically see in terms of the customers that become most successful at their organizations.
Yeah, I like that advice about starting small. We see that as well. I mean, some of our customers start with just taking, yes, IT Central Station provides intent data feeds directly into Salesforce and other systems, but some of our customers just opt for a CSV file once a week, comes in Monday morning, the marketing manager prints it out, walks it over to the SDR and says, here's a bunch of accounts to call, or at least go through the accounts that are on your ABM list and then identify, here's some that you can call. And so, and then they're the ones that, okay, now we can justify the work to integrate it into Salesforce. Now we've proven it and we can roll it out not just to SDR, but to the entire sales organization. Now we can get marketing campaigns built on top of it and start to justify it once you got those initial ROI data points from that sort of really small steps that you've taken. Paul, you were going to add something?
Well, I have a confession, right? So our first pilot, to Millie's point, we used the mantra crawl, walk, run. It was incredibly small. My confession is, in that small pilot with a small set of SDRs and a small set of accounts, we literally sent them spreadsheets and we literally called them. Yep. We tracked everything in that small microcosm of a pilot because we knew we needed to have quantitative metrics to be able to expand it. And then we went from there to 2 to 4 to 8. The other thing that we did is we consciously said, as we're going through this, we need to make the SDRs and the marketing teams the heroes. So we helped amplify their success from behind. We gave out awards. We gave accolades to the executives and to the board. This sort of like, I don't know, maybe jealousy marketing, if you want to call it that, right? Other people were interested, like, how did you get those results? What is this program? How do I get involved? And it started like that. Then the program, which started in my team, we actually started to evolve this. It's almost like a hybrid organization, which is really exciting and really fascinating. What I mean by that is the initiative is in SAP is a moniker Crystal Ball. The Crystal Ball team is now hundreds of people. Only a portion of them report to me, meaning that there's this this community now. So just to kind of give an illustration of what Millie's talking about is you want to basically kind of propagate this in your company. If you're starting from scratch, you want to start small, measure, get some really hero top performers to then convince the next set.
That's right. That's right. So I think we covered one area of sort of questions and concerns that new companies embarking on the intent data journey have. I think the second question I hear most often is, what intent data should I use? What are all the different types of intent data? It seems like everyone sells intent data. So what are all the different types, and how do you think about it? And I'd like to hear from both of you. Paul, obviously, I think you looked at probably peeked under every single rock that could be intent data and thought about that. And then Millie, so your perspective from Bombora about how intent data, the type of intent data and how that works. So Paul.
Okay, so for me, I still have to take it up a level from intent, because that's how I think about it. I think about listening, right? Listening, customer listening. And on my wall, I have a big circle, right? It's customer 360 listening. And it's broken into two halves, first party and third party. So I am actively looking around that circle at what's the most effective way to listen to customers and most effective data set. So for example, on the first party, obviously, all of our web data, all of our interaction data, Qualtrics is part of SAP's portfolio. So that's huge for us, right? So NPS signal across the entire customer base, across their entire buying journey. So that all comes into the graph. On the third party, we're looking at how else should we be listening to customers? Financials, firmographics. I don't want to kind of gloss over that. That's important. You have to know, back to empathy, you have to be empathetic to where they're at, where their performance is, where their financials are, how many employees they have, I mean, on and on. So I just want to paint the picture that goes into it. When you talk about intent, again, intent, it's an interesting word because it means so many things. I just think about where customers are going to get informed and learn, and what's important to them. I believe that there's an array of publishers that are providing amazing information, so buyers can actually get super smart right up front. They don't need to really engage vendors instantly. It's like a renaissance for customers in terms of the available digital information out there for them to learn about anything, ERP, supply chain, you name it. So I think the publisher content is key. I think I'm really excited about peer reviews. I mean, customers have always wanted to hear what other customers say and what they're learning, and it's blossomed. I mean, especially post-COVID, there's so much content out there, so many end users writing reviews, and for every one review that's written, tens, hundreds, thousands of other people are reading that review and get very interested, and just like our restaurants. So I'm very interested in what customers are saying, what they're saying about our products, what they love and they want us to keep doing, what they wish we had in terms of features that we should add. So for me, intent is, without a specific list of A, B, C, D, I would just say you need to think of intent holistically. You need to think of it as, kind of like publisher content, like Bombora with co-op. You need to think about peer review, and you need to keep your eyes open for other places that customers are going to learn. And if you're not sure where those are, ask them.
Yep, great point.
Yeah.
Millie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about first-party intent. That's obviously like super valuable, and marketers should definitely take advantage of their first-party intent data.
And just remind the audience, what do we mean by first-party data? Just to remind.
Yeah, That's really like the people that come to your website, any other sort of owned data that you have in your marketing automation platform, things like that. So that's super valuable. And if a customer is actively engaging in your website content, they're obviously interested. In terms of third-party intent, there's we typically think of a few different ways that you get third-party intent, and they can complement each other for sure. There's obviously like publishers like yourself that have valuable information that for intent data, as well as companies like G2 and TechTarget that own all these websites, and they can compile this intent data from within their own properties. There's bidstream intent data, which is essentially sort of the exhaust from the ad programmatic advertising ecosystem. So there's definitely intent data there as well. The way that we source our intent data, we believe, is really ethically sourced based on just mutual value with the members within our cooperative. So we've built a cooperative of over 4,000 B2B publishers, peer review sites, analyst firms, some marketing brands themselves, and they contribute this privacy compliant, brand anonymous intent data based on the content consumption within their websites. And we maintain direct relationships with every single member within the co-op, because it's so important for us that there's mutual value from the data that we collect. And we can take that data and sort of understand the research and content consumption behaviors of different companies, and deliver that information to marketers and brands that are interested in listening and understanding which companies are interested in what they sell. And we deliver that data across all the different activations that we have and partners, including 6sense, Salesforce, marketing automation platforms, so that we can be ubiquitous and be in all the places that marketing and sales teams need the data.
Right. Daniela, do we have time? Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I just want to add just really quickly, just a thought on that for the audience. You talk about data. To me, there's 3 really useful questions I'm going to put on the table that everybody should think about in their own company. Question number 1 is, do we have a strategy to capture and fully integrate first-party data, the data that we have in-house about our customers? Do we have a strategy to bring that all together? Your service logs with your web data, right? So do you have a strategy to bring that all together with your NPS surveys maybe? So that's question number 1. Question number 2, do you have a strategy to actively review and analyze and acquire third-party insights about our customers? The highest value data that we can find, and again, maybe from multiple places, but integrate that into one view of third-party listening. Third question is, do we have a strategy to bring those 2 together? That's where the magic happens, right? Do we have a strategy to actually bring together first party and third party? Then we're starting to actually be, I would say, empathetic to our customers, because we're actually now observing the entirety of their relationship with us and their buying cycle. And only then I think that we have the best ability to reach them where they're at with what they need.
Well said. Well said. Daniela, do we have time for any questions?
We do. We have a few minutes. We have a question here for Paul, and there's another question for Millie. Question for Paul is, do you use only one provider of intent or multiple sources? And then if you have multiple, how do you integrate them into various platforms?
Okay, this is an excellent question. We use multiple sources. We use multiple sources, again, driven by the customer. Fundamentally, the customer's digital journey now is not relegated to one source. There is no kind of silver bullet in this space. So that's my learning I'll share with the audience here. So by necessity, if we truly want to listen as best as we can, we need to be looking at multiple sources. So that's the answer to the first part. The second part is, how do you integrate it? Well, this becomes a challenge. If you embark on multi-vendor, multi-data, then you've opened that door that you have to now have a way to reconcile that data, to build it into a single graph. It's not trivial. Data has to talk to each other. It has to reconcile to an account layer. It has to reconcile to your CRM account profiles, and there's a lot going on there. Thankfully, this is an area of expertise for SAP. So all of our data runs on SAP Champagne within SAP HANA and uses our data warehouse and data analytics capability. So I will admit I have, and our AI ML, we're throwing everything at it. So I will admit I have an advantage there, but there's a lot of attention paid to the data management, fundamental data management and data integration is key.
Okay, great. And then Millie, there's a question about the cooperative, and do companies in the cooperative share data, and how can companies join?
Yeah, so the companies within the cooperative do share data with us. So they share privacy compliant brand anonymous content consumption data to the cooperative, and we aggregate and compile that data together to deliver the intent data that we have. So it's never any individual site is contributing this, or somebody ended up on any individual site. If someone is interested in joining the cooperative, feel free to visit our website. We have a place where you can submit your information and we'll get back to you.
Okay, good.
Super. Okay, so I'm going to end with one question for Paul and Millie, which is, what's your number one tip, number one piece of advice for people who are starting out on their intent data journey?
All right, who do you want to go? And do we really one? That's not fair.
Exactly.
I feel like I already said it basically, but for me, it's like having a plan and just starting small. Like, and there's no better place to start than just one SDR and one AE. If you can get them to start using the data, finding success, that's the place to begin. And then you leverage those successes to expand your use case across the organization.
Paul?
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to make mine a bit philosophical. I think that, who was it, Stephen Covey? Remember, begin with the end in mind? I'm a big believer in this entire space that companies should think of it as a strategic arc with an aspirational end. And the aspirational end is again about customer listening and about using this fundamentally to customer benefit, with the attitude that we're doing this for only one reason, is to help customers and to improve their customer experience. That may not be exactly where you start, but that's my advice, is think about the arc of where this is eventually going, because you're going to build and build and build and grow. You may start in, I would say, maybe almost like a kind of a selfish mode, thinking just about your funnel and thinking about, I'm just going to listen to find an account that's ready right now to buy, and I'll reach out to them. That's okay, I guess, but you need to recognize that you're overlooking such a huge opportunity. First of all, if you do that, you're basically saying, we only want to listen to customers that are ready to buy from us right now. And maybe we're not as interested to listen to that same customer early in the cycle when they want to learn and they need help and they need intelligence. Or maybe we're not then, after we get them in the funnel, as interested to listen to them after we convert them and their customers, and thinking about how to use this customer for life. So this is the fundamental thing that I think needs to be a shift in our entire ABM industry, is we need to be thinking about this much more long-term about benefiting customer. And I'll give you, can I give you one small example? Really interesting unpredicted thing happened after COVID started, and COVID was unpredicted, but we actually were asked to deploy Crystal Ball to an interesting mission. It wasn't about filling the funnel. We were asked to deploy Crystal Ball back in, remember, like March, April, May, June 2020, crazy timeframe. Can Crystal Ball help us find customers that need our help right now? Not trying to sell them anything. Remember, at the time, companies were basically opening their platforms and services. A lot of tech companies were saying, just come in and use it. We did that with our Ariba buying platform. Anybody that needed to get in there to find a bed or PPE or whatever, we opened everything. We actually used Crystal Ball to find customers that were exhibiting signs of stress, risk, seeing supply chain issues, financial issues, so forth. And we were able, as they were running to us, we were able to run to them and meet them much, much quicker. And all we did was say, like, how can we help you? And here's logins to these different services. So I just want to use that as a closing example that when you start thinking of this way, right, customer first, it can provide benefits across the entire customer experience arc. It goes well beyond just a top of funnel game. That's not, in my mind, what this should be about.
Yep, great. So, to summarize, we've covered a lot of really interesting topics. We talked about digital empathy. We talked about co-ops. We talked about jealousy marketing. We talked about aspirational ends. We got some great examples. We got some top tips from two of the top thought leaders in intent data today. So I really want to thank you, Millie and Paul, for your time today. It's been a great session.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
This was awesome. Lots of fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.